Tell us your story. Where were you when the gunfire broke out?
Real quick, too, when you guys identified me as Jake's tour manager, I'm not Jake's tour manager. We have a gentleman by the name of Greg Fowler, who's Jake's tour manager. He was also on site, and he's a great man. And I have no problem being called the tour manager. I just didn't want to disrespect Greg.
Fair enough.
And the other side of that too is the answer to your question is I was stage left in an area that actually sat between the Mandalay. So I was sort of between the shooter and the stage.
Got it. And initially, when the gunfire broke out, as we saw, it really took a couple.
Yeah, I think everybody's experience there was different. In my case, I happened to be standing there talking to a gentleman who is a police chief at a city in Texas. And the first couple of sounds I heard, I looked him in the face and I said, "Does that sound like gunshots to you?" And he said, "I don't know, it seems a little high-pitched to be a gunshot." And then when you heard the opening up of the automatic weapon, the constant repetitious firing, you knew in about 5 seconds exactly what it was. And I certainly did. And so I quickly looked for my wife and grabbed her hand and, looked for cover, because at this point you could tell by the sound, and also his initial shots, I believe, were probably intended for the stage. And so the fact that he was aiming at the stage, he was hitting the area that we were all standing in, and you could actually see the explosion of bullets ripping into the blacktop in the area that we were in. So between the sound and the visuals, you kind of knew immediately what it was.
Keith, did you know that the rounds were coming from the hotel?
It's odd, and I hope that you guys or none of your listeners are in that experience, but you don't really know what direction it's coming from. In my particular case, I knew by the sound and I knew by the visual what was happening, but I was a little unclear. Was this coming from the front? Was this someone or someone's that was in the crowd immediately in front of the stage? Or was this someone from behind the stage? So it took a couple minutes when you're crouched down to kind of get your bearings and then realize it was coming from the left, and then you kind of realized it was coming from above left. But you didn't know that right away, no, sir.
Yeah, I would also think it would be just wildly disorienting, because we've heard time and time again people talk about they thought that initially that somebody was in the crowd itself on the same level as the audience firing into the crowd, and people didn't think to look up. But then when people did, they saw basically the flashes coming from the hotel and then figured it out.
Yeah.